Liam was dying. The inoperable brain tumor was slowly taking his life, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. Every breath felt heavier than the last. Every beat of his heart ticked like a clock winding down. The prognosis was final. There were no more clinical trials. No miraculous surgeries. Just time shrinking by the hour. He walked into Finn's office without calling first. Finn looked up from his files, surprised but instantly sensing something was wrong. Liam wasn't there for casual talk. He closed the door behind him and sat down without being asked. There was no small talk. Liam got straight to it. He told Finn he wasn't there to ask for sympathy or favors. He knew the damage he'd caused. He admitted it freely that he'd spent years bouncing between Hope and Steffi, hurting both, confusing their lives and leaving behind a legacy of emotional wreckage. He couldn't erase what he'd done. But now, as death closed in, he was trying to do something different. Not for himself. For the girls. For Beth. For Kelly. Liam stared directly at Finn. "When I'm gone, they'll need each other," he said. "Hope and Steffi. They're going to hate it, but they'll have to stand side by side for our daughters. I don't want them tearing each other apart over my memory." Finn didn't respond right away. His eyes searched Liam's face, reading the depth of that request. Liam continued, asking Finn to be the one who kept the peace. He wanted Finn to make sure Steffi and Hope didn't fall back into old patterns. He wanted someone there to pull them forward when grief dragged them down. "You're the one who can do it," Liam said. "You've always been steady. Maybe not perfect, but stable. They listen to you." What Liam didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that Steffi had already told Hope everything. Behind Liam's back, behind everyone's back, Steffi had taken matters into her own hands. She couldn't let Hope live in ignorance while Liam silently wasted away. She'd gone to Brooke's house and told Hope that Liam was dying. Not hypothetically. Not maybe. Definitely. It wasn't an easy conversation. Hope had collapsed into sobs, and Steffi, despite their long, bitter history, had held her. There were no insults, no blame, no jabs. Just two mothers, two women who had loved the same man, now linked by the same heartbreak. Hope had asked why Liam didn't tell her himself. Steffi didn't have an answer for that. Maybe he was protecting her. Maybe he didn't want to see the pain in her eyes. Or maybe he didn't want the memory of his final days to be clouded by grief. Either way, Hope knew now. And that changed everything. Back at Finn's office, Liam leaned forward. "Please," he said. "If you do nothing else for me, keep them together. They're going to need each other more than ever." Finn nodded, but his mind raced. Liam had no idea what kind of storm he was dragging him into. He'd already been caught in the crossfire of Steffi and Hope once before, and it had nearly destroyed his relationship with Steffi. He remembered all too well when Hope had stumbled into his arms while waiting for Carter. It had been innocent, an accident. But the fallout wasn't. Steffi had gone ballistic. She'd accused Hope of overstepping boundaries. She'd accused him of being too soft. She'd made it very clear that his loyalty needed to be absolute. That Hope was a threat to their marriage. That he wasn't to speak to her again unless it was absolutely necessary. Now, Liam was asking him to insert himself directly between the two of them. To become a mediator. A bridge. A protector. But Finn wasn't Liam. He didn't want to be caught in the emotional tug-of-war between two powerful, emotional women. He didn't want his marriage to burn in the name of peacekeeping. Still, how could he say no to a dying man? Finn agreed, cautiously. "I'll try," he said. "But you know Steffi and Hope. They don't exactly take orders." Liam gave a faint, broken smile. "Just be there. That's all I can ask." What Liam still didn't realize was that his request was already a step too late. Hope and Steffi weren't waiting for Finn to bring them together. They were already doing it. Quietly. behind closed doors, for the sake of the children, for the sake of what was coming. But there was another problem, one no one wanted to say out loud. Peace wasn't sustainable. Not between Steffi and Hope. Not for long. They had managed to keep their emotions in check for now. But grief had a way of exposing everything. And their history was a powder keg. One slip, one spark, and everything Liam hoped for could go up in flames. Finn could already feel the pressure mounting. Steffi had confided in him that Hope kissed Liam not that long ago. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a wound. Steffi hadn't forgiven it. Not really. She'd said she had for the girl's sake, but the truth lived in her silence. She hadn't forgotten. Now Finn had to step into that unresolved tension. He had to manage not only Liam's request, but Steffi's simmering rage and Hope's hidden sorrow. Worse still, he had to ask himself the one question no one dared speak aloud. Would he fall into the same trap? Liam had ping-ponged between Hope and Steffi for years. He'd never been able to choose without regret. Finn had always sworn he wasn't that man, that he was better, stronger. But the more time he spent with Hope comforting her, reassuring her, being the voice of reason, the more complicated things became. Hope looked at him differently now. Not as Liam's friend. Not even as Steffi's husband. But as the last stable piece left standing. It was subtle. Nothing overt. But it was there. If Liam died, Hope would be shattered. And Steffi would be angry. And Finn. Finn would be in the middle again. The nightmare scenario loomed. A new triangle forming, born from grief and loneliness. Finn, the perfect shoulder to cry on. Hope, desperate for support. Steffi, watching everything with suspicion and fury. Finn could promise Liam whatever he wanted. But the truth was, no one could control what came next. As Liam left the office, Finn stood there, staring out the window, haunted by the weight of what he had just agreed to. He wasn't just holding the peace. He was holding a ticking bomb. And when it went off, because he'd be standing right between the blast and everything he loved. The next morning, Liam stood in front of a mirror, buttoning his shirt with trembling fingers. The routine felt hollow, now pointless. He looked at himself, but barely recognized the reflection. His face was thinner. His eyes were duller. But the change wasn't just physical. It was the weight of finality pressing against him from all sides. Today wasn't about telling an adult. This wasn't Hope or Steffi or Finn. This was about Beth. This was about Kelly. Two little girls who still thought their father would always be there to walk them to school, to hug them goodnight, to hold their hands through life's ups and downs. They didn't understand tumors. They didn't understand time running out. Liam sat in his car for over an hour outside Brooke's house before he finally walked in. Hope had already prepared Beth for a visit. She hadn't said anything about the real reason, but her tone must have betrayed something because Beth had been quieter than usual all morning. When Liam came through the door, Beth ran into his arms the way she always did. She didn't see the pain in his smile. She didn't notice the way he held her just a little tighter, a little longer. Hope watched from the hallway, holding back tears. Liam knelt down, held Beth's small hands in his, and tried to find the words. He stumbled at first. How do you tell a child the truth without shattering them? He told her he was sick. Really sick. And the doctors couldn't fix it. He told her that he didn't know how much longer he had, but that he loved her more than anything in the world. Beth didn't understand at first. She frowned, asking if he was going to the hospital to get better. Liam shook his head. No, baby. I'm not getting better. I just want to spend every minute I have left with you. Hope came in and took Beth into her arms as the little girl started to cry, clutching her father's shirt, begging him not to go. Liam broke right there. His composure collapsed. He buried his face in her hair and wept. Later, he drove to the Cliff house. Steffi didn't say anything when she saw him. She just nodded and stepped aside. Kelly was in the backyard, drawing on the patio with sidewalk chalk. Liam watched her for a while, memorizing every motion, her laugh, her messy ponytail, the way she stuck her tongue out when she concentrated. Then he stepped out and joined her, sitting on the warm stone beside her. She squealed and hugged him. They drew together for a bit. Then he took her little chalk-covered hands and said her name. Gently, seriously, he told her the same thing he told Beth. That he was sick. That the doctors couldn't make it go away. That he didn't know how much time he had left. Kelly's lip trembled. Are you going to die, Daddy? He nodded. Yeah, I am. She climbed into his lap and curled against him, silent tears soaking through his shirt. He rocked her slowly, arms wrapped tightly around her. Steffi watched from the doorway, hand over her mouth, trying not to sob. That night, Liam stayed at the Cliff house. The girls fell asleep in his arms. Steffi brought him a blanket, sat beside him, and for the first time in weeks, they just talked. Not about history, not about mistakes, just about the girls, their futures, their needs. You were right, Steffi said quietly. They'll need each other. And they'll need us too. Liam looked at her. Even when I'm gone? She nodded, tears in her eyes. You're not going anywhere for them. Not really. In the days that followed, something changed. Beth and Kelly started spending more time together. Hope and Steffi made the effort. Not for each other. For the girls. The two women still had sharp edges, still had walls. But they tried. Every shared meal, every shared pickup from school, every bedtime story read as a trio rather than a pair was a small step toward something like healing. Finn watched it unfold carefully. He was still trying to honor Liam's request to hold the peace. But the peace was fragile. One wrong word. One memory too sharp. One glance too long. And then came the moment Finn had feared. Hope dropped Beth off one evening. Finn answered the door. Steffi wasn't home yet. It was just the two of them. Hope hesitated before walking back to her car. She turned back. I know Liam asked you to hold us together. I know, Finn replied softly. Just be careful, she said, voice shaking. Don't lose yourself trying to fix what none of us ever could. Their eyes locked for a moment too long. Finn swallowed hard. You should go. She nodded and turned. And the door closed. But the tension didn't. Back inside, Finn stood still, hearing the ghost of Liam's voice in his mind. Keep them together. But at what cost?